Hello to everyone and welcome to another at-home session of In Goop Health. Obviously, we are prohibited from having our summits, so we're doing these fantastically interesting, at least Elisa's are anyway, interviews with experts and founders and doctors and healers. And today we have a very, very special guest. But before I get to her, just a reminder that we're continuing to raise money for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And so you can click the button on the side to donate if you so desire. We thank you in advance for your donation. And we have a sponsor for today, which is very exciting, and I would really like to thank them. Our sponsor is LÄRABAR. Delicious, fantastic snack on the go. It matches my dress. And they have all kinds of amazing flavors. So thank you, LÄRABAR, for hosting this conversation today with one of my best friends in the entire universe. She is a New York Times bestselling author 2 times, at least. She's an actor. She is an entrepreneur. She has just launched a new wine line called Avaline. Look how delicious this looks in this hot summer day. Nice cold rosé. And I'm very excited to talk to her today. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but her name is Cameron Diaz.
Hi, Gwyneth Paltrow.
How are you? I'm so happy to talk to you. Thank you for joining our In Goop Health digital session. I have so much I want to ask you about, but I think I would love to start with the wine, because I'm always so taken with that entrepreneurial spirit that bites people. And will you just tell me a little bit about the journey of why did you decide that this was going to be an exciting project for you?
We kind of had that moment where we were like, God, we love wine. What's in it? Can we really drink this? How can we drink more of it? And we started asking questions about our wine, which is so crazy because I had never done that before. I kind of just assumed it was fermented grapes. That was my assumption, and I've been going with it for years. Thinking that I was making the best decision for myself. But when you really look at everything that we're consuming, we're all sort of making the real effort to consume organic, consume organic groceries. We're really making an effort in our lifestyle to put that in place. Even with our skin products or in our clothing, we want organically grown cotton. We're pushing for all this organic, and it never occurred to me that wine could be made from anything other than just a beautiful grape that was, as it existed as its own perfection. But then we realized that, in this naivete, that there is in fact commercial farming in every category, and no exception with wine. That if we were trying to consume something organic, was our wine organic? And then on top of that, how is it made? We found that there were 73 ingredients that could be used in the winemaking process.
That was something I have to tell you, sorry to interrupt you, but I was so surprised when you started to tell me about this venture that wine was allowed to have all of this stuff in it. And you said that a lot of times it's not even vegan.
Yeah, so that was one of the bigger surprises for us as well, because who would have ever thought that an animal byproduct could be used in the process of making wine? Now, it doesn't mean that animal that it's in your glass, but the wine is passed through an animal byproduct, and it's a clarifier. So, all wines naturally are cloudy, but that's not the wine that we're used to drinking. And so we wanted our wine also to sort of represent the wine that we all drink. So we use a organic plant-based binder protein, like pea protein, cream of tartar, bentonite, which are all organic. And but when we found out that it was animal byproducts that were largely used in the industry, we thought, wow, that's so crazy. You know, just the fact that it's not, it doesn't have to be disclosed to us. The wine industry somehow has gotten away with not having to be transparent about what's in the bottle. That was what our main goal was to do, was to find the wine that was made with organic grapes, that had minimal intervention. So our wines, if you go to our website, which is drinkavaline.com, you can see everything that's in our wine. There's like 4.
Don't mind if I do.
Girl, I got my some rosé here.
Should I do the white or the rosé?
I'll do the white. I think you'll like the white.
I love it. I've had it before. It's so good.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We drank some. Cheers.
Okay, carry on.
So we stayed on the bottle what we know is important to our drinkers, which is no concentrates, no added sugars, no artificial coloring.
Can you talk to me about how much sugar is put into wine? Because that was another thing you taught me that I really, I didn't know, which is embarrassing, but I was noticing that, you know, I love wine. No comments, no peanut gallery comments. And I noticed that after a certain age, and I don't know if it had to do with my ability to metabolize sugar or not, but I stopped sleeping at night if I was drinking wine. And with this wine, I can sleep.
Yeah.
Is that sugar? Is that from sugar?
I think personally, when I drink a wine that's a higher sugar content, when I look back now, I'm like, I felt more drunk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of like high and low. But I feel mostly the most important thing for me in the way that I feel when I'm drinking a wine that is with organic grapes like our wine is that I don't feel that really knocked in the head heavy from what I think is the pesticides. Organic farming practices are also by nature just cleaner. You know, you're not putting a bunch of toxins and chemicals into the waterways, you know, with the runoffs. You're not putting it into the soil, the degrading of the soil, you know, the water table, all of these things that commercial farming really, you know, we've been trying to break free of this big commercial farming. We feel really good about the fact that our farms are generational farms who have been farming this way for a long time, forever. And, you know, that our winemakers have a real reverence for their land because they've all grown up on that land. Their fathers grew up on that land. Their father's father grew up on that land. So, you know, it's like, and they've been making wine forever. You know, we feel really happy and proud of who we partnered with because, you know, in wine as well. So if I had a vineyard for 20 years, I've only had 20 times to make a wine, you know, but if I grew up on a farm and I've made 30 wines and my father made 50 wines and his father made 50 wines, you have all of that knowledge that carries over generationally to become, you know, that then our winemakers hold that knowledge.
What has all of this research into more natural farming practices, how has it informed the rest of your life, if at all, outside of wine?
I really appreciate all of the labeling in the last 15, 20 years that have happened within the organic space. You know, you really look at it and you go, that's been a lot of work. You know, the fact that there was a time where we didn't know what was in what we were eating, you know, unless you're eating whole foods. So like the fact that I can go to the grocery store and in the grocery store, there's a section of vegetables that doesn't have the tag organic. Okay. And then there's a whole section that says organic. You just kind of wonder why there's this separation. Why don't we just, if that section is nearly as large as the section that's commercial, how come we can't just get to the organic of it all? You know, we know it's better for us, and we know all the reasons why it's better for us. We know that, that it's better for the environment. It always has been better for the environment. There's no scenario where commercial farming with chemicals or monocropping is good for the soil and is good for any aspect of our environment, when it comes to, just the long-term effects of it. Mm. And then we also know that it's just not good for our bodies. We all feel the difference. The reason why I eat whole foods is because, and what I mean by whole foods is that foods I can identify that don't come in a box, is because when I eat something that comes from a box or a bag, I don't feel as good.
I mean, you've always been a huge champion of trying to democratize wellness and make it a much more accessible practice for everybody. So, for a lot of people, organic price points are high. I think one of the great things that you're doing with Avaline, that it's a very affordable bottle of wine and it's completely organic. So how have you managed to do that?
It's hard to, we want to be able to bring this product to market at this price point, because we know that it's this kind of a sweet spot. We know that a couple dollars more and it makes it less accessible. And we know that people are really trying to sort of allocate the money to the things that they find are important. And we all know that wine like lands onto that, I really, really, really want it, but I don't need it, so I
don't know. Some days
mama needs some medicine. I was like, mama needs some medicine.
Mommy needs just a little bit of help today.
Wine is one of those things that, it's centuries old. It's not something new. It's not Coca-Cola that was just created in the last century. This is thousands of years old. When
did you fall in love with it?
Oh gosh, I think when I was in my 20s. I had a really unique experience when I was in my 20s, that I got to drink some really amazing, wines. I had some people who I was, in the circle with that were wine experts. And, here I am, I'm just like this 23-year-old girl just getting poured like these liqueurs and like these amazing, like, auctioned bottles of wine.
Wow.
I'm kind of just like, what's happening?
Were you in France when this happened?
It was all over the world, really. But yes, a lot of time in Paris, England, New York.
You were always kind of, well, for how I saw you anyway, you were always this incredible actress, this amazing movie star. And then at the same time, you had this incredible curiosity. And I think we're sort of alike in that we love to share good information that we learn, and we want to bring that to our friends, our wider circles, and then the world. And where do you think that started? I mean, when I look back at the body book and the longevity book, I mean, talk about a science nerd. Like, you went so deep in that process. And what do you think, where do you think that spirit comes from in you?
I think, my mom's very similar in that way. My mom just is like that encyclopedia of random shit. Like, you just ask her something and she's like, bah, 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 bah. She just has, and I guess I just kind of got it from her, where, and in some ways it's like, I love it because my brain just kind of has these files that I have a lot of information about, but I always think of that saying, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes.
Like, I haven't, I really wish, and it's probably because I have, ADD and dyslexia and like all these other things that I never knew really that I did. I just can look now and see like the reasons why I couldn't focus on things, or the reasons why I, it's hard for me to read a lot. I have to listen to a lot of things. I get a lot of my information from listening. Yeah. That's why I love this age of podcasts, but I do, I mean, obviously I've done a lot of reading in my life, but I'll go like with the body book, was so much more informative for me to go and meet with the doctors, you know, and the scientists. You know, I can gain so much more information on that one-on-one experience and listening and asking the questions. That all goes in.
So where does the urge to share come from?
I love when people, like, I love learning things, right? So when I learn something, I'm like so excited that I learned it. I'm like, wow, I never even thought of it. It's the same thing with the wine. All I want to do is tell other people so that they can go, no way, oh my God. And then they get excited about it. And then I love that when people have that moment for themselves, the way that I've had it, and then they tell somebody else and they get to have it. And then the information, you know, is spread. I don't know. There's just something that I really, I love. I really want people's lives to be better, I think is what it comes down to. I know that every bit of information that I've ever obtained, whether it's about something that, you know, beautiful or something dark or something, you know, like progressive or something that's baseline, all of that knowledge I use to try to make my life better, you know, and I assume that that's what everybody does. You know, my presumption is that, you know, if you get this information, your life will be better because you now know something that you didn't know before. And whenever we expand our minds or our experience, or we get, you know, it takes us in another path. I mean, I think that growing up where I grew up in Long Beach, really knowing that I didn't have any other options, when I started to get to, all I knew was that I wanted to like see the world, because I knew that if I left Long Beach and I got to see other things, that it would just, my journey would take me out and I would expand. And that's all I wanted to ever do. I just think of life as this ever, you know, evolving journey. And I'm not a stagnant person. I'm not good at staying in one place, doing the same thing all the time.
Right. And I think when you exemplify this so well, but you're such a manifester, but you also, I think you convey so well that anybody can be a manifester in their life, right? Like you grew up in a situation and you're like, I think I want to know more and go other places and I want more exposure, and you just manifested it. And don't you think that everybody has that power within them to some degree?
Yeah, I think so. I think what it takes though is we have to go outside our comfort zone, right? So that, I
Yeah.
think the first challenge is to go like, there's an unknown out there. And for me to get, you know, I have to go through that unknown to gain the knowledge, to get to the other side, to keep taking this journey, keep moving forward, you know. And I think that that's, you know, when you're young and you don't know any better and you don't really know what it means, how far the fall is and how hard it's going to hurt when you land.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of just take the leap, you know.
So what feeling would you say needs to go with that feeling of manifestation?
Courage, and I think also excitement. You know, you really have to just try to find the thing that excites you, that you're passionate about. I think I always remember when I was a kid, when I look back on all the things that I was curious about when I was a kid, there's still all the things I'm curious about now. They're
Like
exactly
what? Like what are they?
just like, you know, the earth, science, animals, you know, the relationships with people, why people do what they do.
And how do you think curiosity, or whatever that feeling is, like the curiosity with power of manifestation and courage, does that change from your 20s as a woman to your 40s?
I think you just build a life, you know, when you're in your 20s and 30s, and then in your 40s, as you know, it's a completely different thing completely. You know, but here I am, I'm in my 40s, I'm completely starting over. I decided at the beginning of my 40s to completely start over, you know, after having a whole life that I did, you know, something very at a high level, you know. it does feel different, I think, as we, you know, in our 20s, we're just trying to figure our shit out. We're like, I'm so messed up. Like, you're realizing how like damaged you are in this way, like where you're like, wait a second, there might be an issue here. And then in your 30s, you're like, okay, I'm getting my footing. And then you're in your 40s, you're like, oh my God, I got to do something about this. This
I
has to,
better get my head out of my ass right away.
got to get this taken care of. You know, but you know, it is a funny, it's a funny journey, but I'm glad to be here, for sure. But I think that what I realize is that where I'm right now, like I've just become comfortable with being not knowing anything, like not knowing what's going to happen. Like that's my sweet spot. Like if I start to worry at all about anything, I just have total faith that things are going to work out, because no matter what, because the way I just kind of go, I know that all I can do is make the best decisions for me and my family, period, whatever they may be. I can't have, I don't go like, I'm going to end up here. I go, I'm on a journey, and I want my path on this journey to, however slow or however quickly, I want it to be always on an ascension, right? Like I want it to ascend. I want to like steadily upwards, right?
Do you ascend the more you let go?
Yes, for sure. Like you cannot, like holding on to anything is just like dead weight on your ankles. You know, you can't, you're not going to get anywhere. You know, that's what I've realized. And I have too many examples in my life where I held on to things for too long, and you know, and I can just see where I was stuck. I was just in these really hard places, and I was being drugged down. And now in my 40s, I just go like, everything's gotta just, I gotta be quicker to identify the things that I'm holding on to, and cut them loose, and do my best to make the decisions that help me move forward and upward.
Is it part of the sort of axiom of turning 40 and beyond? Like I often wonder, you know, people say, oh, what would you tell your younger self? And it's like, my younger self wouldn't have listened to any bullshit I said, right? So it's like, but then something happens, I always had felt around 40, where there's this shift, you know? I always say, like, to my colleagues who are younger than I am, you get this involuntary software upgrade when you're 40, and then, you know, you can do with it what you will. So I'm sure that was part of it, because it seems to be just a natural demarcation or like chapter in our lives. But when you turned 40, you really had, or soon thereafter, you really had a big life change, and you just referred to it as starting over. So what do you mean by that, starting over, when you were 40?
I just decided that I wanted different things out of my life. You know, had gone so hard for so long, working, you know, making films, and it's such a grind. And I didn't really make any space for my personal life. And then I decided not to, you know, to stop making movies, and really focus on my personal life, my personal relationships with my family, with my friends. And then Benj and I met each other, and we got married pretty much immediately because we both knew that we had to kind of like, we both had to do it. We needed to like have this.
You guys are like the show that I'm watching on Netflix, Married at First Sight, where you get married right away and then you like work it all out, like through the process. So good.
We really did. I mean, we went hard for a few years where we just like ironed it out and hacked it out, and it was a lot of work, but it was really, you know, we had to. I mean, we were both, well, I was, you know, I'm older than him, but not so much older. But he was at the place in his life too where he wanted to do that well, and you can't do it if the other person isn't, you know.
No, and you have such a great willing partner in him in terms of commitment to work.
Yep.
And that's really, at the end of the day, all you can ask from a partner, right? Is that they're committed to the process and committed to the work.
Absolutely. And you both have to be 100%, 100% of the time. You know what I mean?
Was it scary to walk away from, I mean, maybe not, because I'm sure you could go back whenever you wanted, but what did it feel like to walk away from a movie career of that magnitude, that much success?
A peace. I got a peace in my soul, you know, because I finally was taking care of myself, you know, like even when, as you're saying that, I was like, I just feel grounded and like, I feel like, you know, it's a strange thing to say. I know a lot of people won't understand it. I know you understand it, but and it's so intense to work at that level and be that public and put yourself out there. There's a lot of energy coming at you at all times when you're really, you know, visible as an actor and doing, you know, press and putting yourself out there. And you really energetically, I'm sensitive to energy, some energies and not others, but I do get the overwhelming energy of the attention that's being, you know, put towards me. And also I really looked at my life and I saw what I had been, because when you're making a movie, it's a perfect excuse. They own you. You're there 12 hours a day for months on end. You have no time for anything else. And I realized I handed off parts of my life to all these other people, and they took it, you know, and some people did. I had to basically take it back, you know, and take responsibility for my own life. That's my job. You know, there's a lot of things that I had to iron out and a lot of relationships I had to repair, a lot of relationships I had to build, you know, that I was absent in my life.
And
And
let go of too. You know, you had
I let
a
go of a lot.
recalibration. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was like a cleansing and a,
And what would you say like the thesis of that was to get, it was like Operation Get Closer to Yourself, or what would the thesis of that time be?
actors are infantilized, you know, we're put in a position where everything's taken care of for us. You know, you go to set, everybody wants to carry your bag and put you in, you know, you're not allowed to do anything. God forbid something happens to you, then they can't finish the movie and you're already on film and you know, insurance days and like all these things. And then you're responsible for all these multi-million-dollar pictures that you have to go out and, uh, uh, you know, do your press for and market and all these things. And it's just like overwhelmingly your life just becomes so narrow. And people, you know, everybody's doing things for you and you're catered around. And, you know, I never felt really truly comfortable with that. That wasn't my comfort zone, was to sort of be, you know, taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
But I understood it was part of the job. And for me, I needed to become self-sufficient again. You know, I really needed to know that I could take care of myself and that I knew how to be an adult and I knew how to, you know, navigate the world of the complexity of being an adult and having responsibility and putting all the pieces of my life together the way that I wanted it to be put together, not how other people thought it should go. And really, you know, dig in and through the weeds and say, like, all these little pieces of the machine, all these mechanisms that were functioning, they were all functioning. I was out of touch with all of them. And I didn't really, I felt, you know, I got too comfortable with everything, just the wheels turning and the fact that they were working and we were moving forward. But then I said, okay, so how do I want my life to function? Where do I want to go? And I'm the architect of that. I'm the person, I'm the captain. I need to look at how, you know, I'm going to get there and be responsible for that.
Like more philosophically responsible for yourself, karmically responsible for yourself. Not only I can carry my own bag,
Yeah.
but just really taking accountability and understanding the responsibility of who you are as a soul in the world as opposed to a movie star. And did you come to knowing yourself in a different way?
Absolutely. I do. I learned a lot about myself, and it's painful. It hurts. It's scary, and I actually credit Benj a lot for that. He was like I broke that mirror about 1,000 times when he put it up to me. And I was like, I hate you. Don't show me that. And he was like, look, bitch, look. And I was like, okay, yeah, you want to see it too? There. Look at that. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But it was not, we both knew it was necessary. I could cry. Thank God for him.
Thank
But
God. Do you think that when you were in kind of movie star mode, and I just want to say, just so everybody knows, like you've always been, even when you were full into people carrying your bags, movie star mode, like so down to earth, such a good person, so caring of everybody around you. So that's important to note. But I wondered if that level of cocooning, attention, energy, and really objectification, if you feel that maybe it had a detrimental impact on your ability to, your capacity for intimacy, or
1,000%. I think that I mean, there was a lot of things that impacted my capacity for intimacy.
let's
But,
go back to 1972.
I was actually thinking about it last night, and I was thinking, like, self-esteem is such a weird thing. People really think there was for so long, I thought I had like really great self-esteem. Like I was like, I really, no, I have great self-esteem. All of a sudden, I just realized like I have shit self-esteem. I have like terrible self-esteem. And it was shocking. Like I didn't realize how it manifests itself and how it crippled me in certain areas of my life, and I think that my self-esteem, when you don't, now I think that, I think self-esteem is one of those things that you carry your whole life. It's not just like all of a sudden something happens and you get the legs knocked out from underneath of you, because people get their legs knocked out from underneath them all the time. If they have really good self-esteem, they get back up and they start walking, but like it's something that is it's really challenging to be aware of it and identify it when it's working against you, and to do the work that you need internally to help yourself move past like the feeling of like that you're not, what low self-esteem does, which is, make you make different decisions, whether it's to try to get, attention someplace, or to sabotage yourself, or just talk to yourself in a certain way that isn't loving.
So do you think self-esteem sort of gets set when you're young, and then it's kind of what you build on top of it and around it? Or do you think that it grows and heals as you go through life?
I think it's definitely happens when you're a child, and it gets layered upon, and we start making all these decisions at a young age based off of our self-esteem, and we find things that work for us, so we keep doing it, and we do it until we realize that we don't need to do it that way anymore. It's actually working against us, because as we evolve, when you're a child, certain things work for you, but when you become a teenager or a young adult, those things, you're not a child anymore, so you don't need to use those mechanisms as a young adult. And when you're a young adult and you become, a grown-ass woman, the things you used to do at 25 are not the same things that work functionally, functions in your life in the same way. You don't get the same results at 40 that you did at 25 with those, defenses, or those, the way that you react, or navigate a certain situation based off of what worked when you were 25.
As the mother of a girl, are there certain strategies you have laid out, or certain things that you want to have her avoid or to teach her? Like how I always think it's so fascinating when we have a girl, right? Because there's so much.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I want her, and I know it's impossible, but I really just want her to be free of objectification, in
Mm.
any way, shape, or form. So, like, when people are like, she's so cute, or she's so pretty, and people just like, oh, she's so pretty, she's so cute. I'm kind of like, I kind of have to breathe through that moment because she's a baby right now, but like, I don't want her to identify with those adjectives. You know what I mean? I don't want her to be like, I'm pretty, I'm cute. I want her to be like, I'm me. And so when I look at her, all I want to do is help her be her, period. Like, that's it. That's all. I'm just learning every day, and she's revealing, she's able to reveal more and more to me every day who she is. And I'm just trying to keep up with her to like go like, oh, you want this, you want that, you want to go here, whether it's me facilitating it or me helping her to understand that she can't do that yet, until she learns what hurt means in the most gentle way, so that she understands that when I say you're going to get hurt doing that, like, she has no concept of that yet. Thank God, she has nothing's touched her yet, knock on wood. But like, when she's going for an edge, I just keep telling her, that's an edge, you don't know what that means yet, but you're gonna fall and you're gonna get hurt.
And then it's interesting because at this age, it's really easy, right? And then all of a sudden they're older and they do things that might be out of alignment with your opinions about things that you're not even aware of, right? Because so much of it is conditioning and patterning from our parents and transgenerational stuff. And then you're like, you have to catch yourself, and
I can't believe Apple's 16. It's so
can you
crazy.
believe that?
Oh,
I know. And so that, I read this quote, I think it was attributed to Banksy, the painter, and it said something like, children will do, no, sorry.
oh
It
yeah.
said, remember, parents, I told you this, parents will do absolutely anything for their children these days, except let them be exactly who they are.
And I love that.
And it's true. And you fall into the trap. You have to kind of, but it's so nice that you're going into the consciousness of parenting from that place and that lack of judgment
Yeah.
and expansiveness.
I think it's part of being an older mother. You know what I mean? Like, being a mother at the age that I am. I don't think I could have been this parent at 25. I would not have become a mother if it wasn't for you. You used to tell, I would be like, I'm not having kids, and you're like, you are having kids, you're getting married, you're having children. And I was like, no, I'm not. And you're like, you have to do it, you have to. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. You're like, and you would just be on me all the time. You're like, you have to, you don't understand, if you don't do this, you will be so sad that you didn't do it. And so I credit you so much with the fact that you never let up on me. You were so, I would say, encouraging, and also
Pain in the ass. But I think I could see and I knew what a natural mother you are. Some women aren't, but I was like, you're born to do it. And
yeah. Well,
then,
all of my I'm not going to do this was just fear.
yeah.
I was just scared. I was afraid. I was afraid I wouldn't, find a partner. I had no luck. I didn't have people that in my life prior
Yeah,
to.
you had some real humdingers in there.
Like I said, low self-esteem really derail a person.
You know what I want to ask you? I've never asked you this question, but do you have regrets about your life?
I don't think that you can regret anything, because everything's, where it should be. I mean, if I didn't do all the shit that I did, like all the stuff I wish, so many times I'm like, why couldn't I just like figure that out sooner? Why did I do that? You're like, oh God.
You're
Oh,
right where you need to be.
right where I need to be.
Yeah.
It just goes back to just making the best decision that you can in the moment that you make a decision. You always end up where you're meant to be, you know. You just trust your gut. And
What do you think the factors are for making a good decision?
I always believe that anytime that I didn't listen to that little voice inside that was screaming at me to do something, like was like, no, do this. And I was like, shut up, kid. You know, like, whenever I don't listen to that voice, I end up in the wrong place, in a place that I have to dig myself out. It's all, you know, hopefully you'll be okay. But like, I've made some pretty bad decisions, like not listening to that voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think listening to the little voice, listening to your gut, and you know, you never know. For me, the way I think about things is that we're not in control. There's no guarantee that the decision that we make will yield the result that we think it will, even if we think it's a guarantee that it will. Anything can happen at any time. And you know, that there is no control. Like, we don't have control over this universe. So I just think that for when I make decisions, I always remember that, and I don't hold on too tightly to what I hope the end result is. It's like I'm ready to be agile and bob and weave and like make decisions, you know, as they're coming at me. I look at it and I try to scan really quickly, like that, which one just jumps out at me as like the right one right now for everything. It's a problem solving mentality. And so did Benj and I. Benj is the same way. We're just like, what's the issue? How do we solve it? There's not, you know, nothing's going to crush you. You know, there's no like absolute like, well, I guess we don't do it, or, you know, oh, well, no, we just go, okay, so how do we get around this? How do we make this work?
Again, commitment to the process. So beautiful.
Yeah. Fun. What else are you going to do?
You're going to drink wine is what you're going to do to make the process fun along the way.
Good girl.
Cheers. I'm so excited for you that you are doing this. I think it's such an amazing business to start. I also love, I'll just briefly mention, I love how everything on the label is so clearly, it's sort of like reading a cosmetics bottle, you know, it's like super transparent and you know what it is. It tells you what to drink it with.
Well, that's what that was the whole point of this, was I being able to identify this product, this wine.
Yeah. The idea of transparency, you know, which is so, it's the essence of who you are as well. And anyway, thank you for being you and being in my life and being here today and for sending me wine that I
can say. I love you so much. Thank you for having me.
I love you so much. I'll send you a LÄRABAR.
I received an entire box of it.
Oh, okay. So you can have them. They're so good. They're only 4 ingredients. So speaking, you know, like some of them have just 2 ingredients. They're not one of those bars that have a bunch of stuff in them. They're really good. They're clean. They're delicious. And I want to thank everybody who listened in to us today. And I feel very grateful that we've been able to do these sessions. And if you want to know more, then you can always head to goop.com/ingoophealth to know who we're talking to. I don't know. You're going to be pretty hard to beat, Ms. Diaz.
I love talking to you. I miss you very much.
I miss you too. I love you. I'll talk to you later.